When you think about how the brain works, what's the first thing that comes to mind? It's neurons, right? The flashy cells firing off all those electrical signals, carrying our thoughts, our feelings, our actions. But what if I told you they're not really the main characters in the story? What if they're actually way, way outnumbered by the nervous system's essential but often overlooked support crew, the neuroglia?
So just think about that for a second. What if everything we thought we knew about how our brains are built was, well, incomplete? What if the stars of the show, the neurons, were totally dependent on this massive, hidden network of collaborators that we almost never talk about?
Because here's the mind-blowing part. For every single neuron you have, there are an estimated 10 to 15 of these other cells. Yep, that's right. The cells we used to think of as just the supporting cast are actually the overwhelming majority. A number that big completely reframes how we should be thinking about the brain. So what are they? They're called neuroglia, which literally means nerve glue. And for the longest time, that's all scientists thought they did. Just kind of passively hold all the important neurons in place. But we know now they are incredibly active and absolutely vital. Their only real difference from neurons, they don't generate those flashy electrical signals themselves.
Okay, to really get this, we're going to break them down into two main groups. First up, let's meet the support staff that works right inside the brain and spinal cord, what we call the central nervous system, or the CNS. First up on our tour are the astrocytes. Their name means star cell, which is so fitting because they are the multitasking superstars of this whole world. Honestly, think of them as the brain's logistics managers, the ones coordinating everything behind the scenes to keep the entire operation running smoothly. And I mean, just look at their job description. It's incredible. Astrocytes form the physical scaffolding that gives the brain its structure. They create the super important blood-brain barrier to act as gatekeepers, and they are constantly cleaning up the chemical environment. They're balancing ions, they're recycling neurotransmitters. They seriously do it all. Next on the team, we've got the microglia. So if astrocytes are the managers, you can think of the microglia as the dedicated on-site security and cleanup crew. They are quite literally the immune system of your brain and spinal cord. And these guys are always on patrol. They actually start out as a type of white blood cell, coming in from the bloodstream. But the moment trouble strikes, like an injury or an infection, they rush directly to the problem area. And that's where they transform into these little eating machines called macrophages, gobbling up any invading germs and dead cellular junk. They are the brain's first responders, no question. And finally, for our CNS crew, let's meet the oligodendrocytes. These are the master electricians. Their whole job is to provide insulation, which we call a myelin sheath, around all the nerve fibers in the brain and spinal cord. And that insulation is absolutely critical for making nerve signals travel super fast and efficiently. Okay, so that was the central crew. Now let's move out from the center and see how this all connects. Let's meet the glial cells that work outside the brain and spinal cord, in what's known as the peripheral nervous system, or PNS. So the PNS has its own version of the electrician, the Schwann cell. And this table gives us a perfect side-by-side. Look, both the oligodendrocytes in the CNS and Schwann cells in the PNS have the exact same main job, providing that myelin insulation. The big difference, obviously, is their location. But notice this. Schwann cells have a couple of extra duties out in the periphery, like helping damaged nerves regenerate and cleaning up debris. And the final cell type on our grand tour is the satellite cell. So if Schwann cells are the electricians, you can think of satellite cells as the personal bodyguards for the PNS neurons. They are found wrapped right around the outside of these neurons, giving them direct personal support. Their job is pretty straightforward, but you guessed it, it's essential. They give physical support, and they help regulate the local chemical environment right around the neuron. Basically, they make sure the peripheral neurons have the perfect, stable conditions they need to do their job. They are the definition of a supporting role. So, we've met the whole team: astrocytes, microglia, oligodendrocytes, Schwann cells, and satellite cells. But, so what? Why is it so important to know about this huge support crew? What's the big takeaway here? Well, here's the most crucial thing to remember. When things go wrong in the nervous system, an infection, an injury, it's the glial cells that are at the absolute heart of the action. They are the first line of defense. These are not passive bystanders. They are active defenders. And there's a more sobering side to this. All that activity comes with a risk. Because they are so numerous and because they are so active,
Neuroglial cells are actually the most common source of tumors in the nervous system. So understanding them isn't just a cool piece of biology trivia, it's critical for modern medicine.
Which leaves us with one last really critical thought. We've seen how this nerve glue is essential for structure, for defense, for maintenance, for pretty much everything. So the real question isn't just what these cells do, but what happens when they fail? It's a question researchers are trying to answer every single day, because the health of our brain's unsung heroes is, in the end, the health of the brain itself.